Hello and welcome to Not an Island Podcast, the podcast series where faith, family, and autism meet. We are your hosts,
Amanda.
and Todd Johnson, and we have a very, very special episode for you today. So, there is a phrase that is often heard in the autism spectrum disorder community, the ASD community. And what is that phrase, Amanda?
That if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. And it's so true.
It is true. And for the longest time, I did not know what that meant at all. Like people said it and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't know what that meant. But through the years, I've really learned what that means. Everyone's unique in life in general.
Yes.
So why would we expect children with autism or people with autism
to be any different?
So I am learning what that means. And so in today's episode, we will be discussing just that. What does it look like in our family? So some of what we discuss may relate to you, or you might relate to. Some of it you might not. But we wanted to go ahead and lay it out as to what our family looks like. It might be a little different than yours. Might be the same. So without further ado, Amanda, what does daily life look like for autism?
So I feel like this is a little bit hard, but I'll just break down what it looks like now because it's looked different in every different season.
For sure.
But currently, our son is in school. And so public school, which that's a whole story in itself.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, that's for another episode because there's a lot to unpack there of how God really led us to public school. But anyways, Ezra really, really thrives in routine. And so it's critical. Like in the morning, we have pretty much the same thing that goes down every single morning. We do the same thing because it just helps keep him on task and it helps keep him aware of what's going to happen next, you know? But outside of the routine, we really try to meet his sensory needs. Right now, he's currently not in any therapies, which we've done tons of therapies in the past. We're just in a little kind of break season, but we try to get as much sensory input in there as possible. Right now, he loves to paint and draw.
Oh, man, this kid.
And he's doing incredible things. Like for a child with a severe fine motor delay, what we're seeing come out of him is just like mind-blowing, honestly. But so I try as soon as he gets home to get him outside in some way. So if he's desperate to draw or paint, I bring the paint and stuff outside. The sensory experience of running in the grass and playing in the dirt and spinning and swinging and sliding. And he has these ride-on bouncy balls like anybody who knows our family. Like Ezra has probably rolled
Shout out if you know us personally. You know we have a small, well, we have a large collection for a small army of
ride-on bouncy balls.
Those ones with the handles, it looks like someone ate too much bubble gum running around.
Yeah, it looks like a bubble out their bum.
Yeah, it looks like a bubble out the bum. So that's awesome.
He is obsessed with those. And it really, it stimulates him in a way that, like, it's bringing really life to him because he's been having to sit still and behave and stay in routine, and he's able to get out there and bounce. And if he could, he would bounce everywhere. He literally bounced at the beach this summer.
Yeah,
I didn't
went to the beach, and we were like, man, this kid's gonna be misunderstood with this giant bouncy ball rolling around, running into people by accident.
I didn't think we thought he could do it in the sand, but we
that
gravely underestimated
ridiculous muscles.
Yes, like his core, and these are things that in therapy, like this was super important for Ezra, and it all came in the form of a ride-on bouncy ball. Like who knew? But anyways, the biggest thing in day-to-day life with autism with Ezra is making sure he gets that time outside. It's hard when there's rainy days. You know, we bounce around the house or, do things in the house, but
we try to avoid technology with him as much as possible. But
he's not.
We don't make a big deal about it.
No,
at the same time.
And he's not the hugest. Like he's not addicted to his tablet, which I know like this current generation, and I know also a lot of children on the spectrum. That's like their saving grace. That's their safe space, and it helps them. And so no shame whatsoever. Like I am so thankful. We live in this day and age, and we have that technology. Speaking of technology, helps Ezra so insanely much when we're out and he's overwhelmed or when we're
Yes.
transitioning.
Yeah, that's a good little,
Yeah. Yep.
I don't know, thing to have in your back pocket. Literally, I don't have my
Mm-hmm.
phone, but
Whatever
imagine a
his
phone.
flavor of the week is currently. And sometimes it's just like, oh, I want to watch something on YouTube that is very specific because Ezra is very
Oh
specific and
my word, yeah.
in all of his. He's
To
currently,
the point of making up titles that aren't
yeah, oh
even
yeah,
literally,
they're not a thing. He
they're not a
thinks you
thing.
can watch anything on the internet,
Oh yeah,
which
he's
he's not.
mostly right.
Yeah, he's not too far off. But like he wants to watch a video of a doorbell because he's obsessed with doorbells at the moment. Or
And of all things, tornado sirens.
yeah,
Yeah.
they did a tornado drill at school and a fire drill at school, and it
Ever
started like
since
a
then.
whole obsession.
Yeah.
Every place we go into, we have to find where their fire alarms are. They got to be safe, you know.
Yeah.
And Ezra has such an imaginary world. He also has a lot of obsessiveness, and that can be really difficult
Yeah.
to deal with.
Yeah.
Because he gets really stuck on things and he repeats stems and repeats things over and over and over again. What do they call that when they repeat it?
Glossolalia.
No. Oh man, I can't think of it off the top of my head. But anyways, maybe it'll come to me later. I'm sure it will. I know what it is. It's just blank. But yeah, he repeats things a lot. And he says things, and sometimes it's hard to break into his world. So, how does autism affect our daily life? Communication is a huge thing that we're still working on with Ezra. And there was a point in time, a long point in time, where Ezra was completely nonverbal.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And we got a lot of letters and sounds and some numbers and some shapes. And then all of a sudden, we had, I would say around 4.5, we had an absolute explosion of language.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's never stopped talking ever since.
But literally, this kid wakes up and his brother, God bless his brother, his little brother is trying to sleep. You know, it's like literally.
I don't know about that. His little brother's been waking him up.
Yeah,
lately.
he has.
Yeah.
But most of the time, Ezra will just wake up yelling, like, "Fire truck!" or whatever he decides to yell.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on up there, he's gonna let the whole house
right
know.
out of his mouth.
It's so funny.
He starts his repeating things very early in the morning.
Yeah.
But sometimes that can be a barrier that's hard to break through because he's got so much going on in his mind and he's overstimulated by different environments and different things. So really making sure we have his eyes and his attention, and sometimes still it's difficult communicating with Ezra, but we've come a really long way. So
yeah, we have. And I'll say this, like, you know, Ezra, his language is not like yours and mine would be. It's not like I'll say a neurotypical person's language. His developed by repeating words and then kind of learning
the meaning of
where they fit in society.
Yeah.
Which makes it hard because to him, he's not. It's not my name is Ezra. He'll say
in third person.
He'll speak in third person. He'll say your name because I'm tripping over my words. He'll say your name is Ezra, and that is because of that type
Gestalt
of processing, which is called Gestalt processing. But yeah, needless to say, it hasn't been easy, but at the same time, he's come a very, very long way. It hasn't always been like that. So
we didn't mean to, but we kind of touched on
we did
points.
So through the years, you know, he had almost, like she said, almost a total lack of communication. There goes our clock in the background.
No, not the clock. He forgot to turn it off.
Yeah, I did. Almost a total lack of communication. I hope you don't mind our background music.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
It's like elevator music. It's fine.
Yeah, well, but he's had almost a total lack of communication for years. He had a regression in 18 months. He actually, before then, he was pretty on standard with like answering when you called or coming to you, and he was still crawling. There were a few different delays. You know, we knew, okay, something's different, but at the same time, like, he seemed to meet a lot of those.
Oh yeah, Ezra had 10 plus words at a year old. He was meeting everything. He did walk slightly late, but still within the normal realm of things.
This song is going on forever.
It is going on forever. I would say one of the biggest indicators before, which you know, before the regression was he never ever hardly slept. He had a lot of GI issues, which I know a lot of children on the spectrum have. He had a lot of allergies, like
Oh yeah.
lactose milk and everything.
So shout out if you have the same clock we have, you know what that life's about.
Yeah.
That's another thing Ezra loves is that specific
Yes.
clock.
And
And there's one song
there's
he'll
one
like
song.
cycle through the button to make
He's
sure
got to
it gets
hear
to
it.
his song, and he knows he'll like and it hits that one song. That's another thing. So it's kind of a useful
Yeah.
distraction.
Honestly, this was like a loaded point because I feel like we could talk forever about day-to-day life with autism.
Yeah.
It is our life, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of facets to it.
Yeah. And so he, like you said, he is adventurous. He's sensory seeking.
Yeah.
So if those of you don't may not know what that means, it means he looks for or he looks forward to
Mm-hmm.
specific sensory input. Say like holding like slime. Like you see a lot of kids
Mm-hmm.
obsessed with slime.
Oh, he loves mud.
He loves mud. And
Loves
thank
water.
the Lord we have a lot of mud
Yeah.
and a lot of yard. But he also has aversion. So
Yeah.
you know, we were trying to potty train him about a year and a half ago, and yes, that was when he was 4 or 5. You know, he was a little late, but
Well, yeah.
uh,
He's almost 7 now. He'll be 7
yeah,
and
he'll be 7 soon.
he potty trained after he was 6.5 almost, I guess.
5.5. It's
Huh?
been almost a year. Anyway,
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true.
he
He wasn't 6.
he has aversions.
No, it
and-
was after he was 6.
was it?
Yeah, after he had his tonsils out. Yeah.
Okay.
6 and a
Yeah, it
couple
sure was.
months. Yep. Anyways.
Regardless,
Sorry.
we realized he had aversions, a sensory aversion, and this will be very helpful for a lot of you just to think about. One of the biggest aversions he had was going to the bathroom. And we're like, why? What is this thing about the bathroom? It was the flusher. It was the sound, the abrupt and loud sound of a flusher. To this day, when we go into a public bathroom, if I take him into the restroom, he'll cover his ears and I
Or
have to
have
flush the toilet for
headphones.
him, or he'll have
Oh, and
earmuffs.
those hand dryers. Those
Oh
of
yeah,
you
that's
who
a
have.
no-go.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes we'll just walk out of the bathroom with wet hands from the sink, and that's just
What's
it is
something
what
a
it is.
little different with Ezra though is it's not just loud abrupt sounds. It, like we have some sounds around here that just anything
Subtle.
abrupt, and
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to be loud, but it just like it really overwhelms him.
Yeah.
I think sound in general really overwhelms him, like going into big spaces, like going into restaurants.
Yeah.
Where there's that big open space before you're kind of tucked away in a booth. It's always been very overwhelming for him. He does better now than he ever has, but that sometimes he'd lose it before we'd ever even get fully into the restaurant. So.
Yeah. And that's, you know, hitting on, we did say that we're going to talk about what life looks like for us as a family. You know, we've talked a lot about Ezra, but you can imagine how that affects a family. You know, a lot of times we're misunderstood in public, or he's misunderstood in public. We have to do explaining, or there's a lot that goes into that. But I'll let you just fill in the blanks with your imagination as to how that looks. Trust me, you have to have a lot of patience, a lot of love, and just understand that, you know what, most people don't understand. So,
and that I think that can be harder for Todd just because you're the Papa Bear.
oh yeah,
You know, you are our covering of our home. You're the man of the house. You know, you really are a protector. And so I think for me, it's like I don't really care. But for you, it's like, don't you cross my my kid.
yeah.
You know, it's one of those things of
It's my
like
son.
of respect and love. And a lot of people, there are so many people unexpectedly who do understand and are so kind and so generous and so helpful.
Like
And
I have a story. I'll share it on another episode, but
yeah,
with the biker, that
oh
was
yeah.
wild.
We've had some of the most unsuspecting people who have blown our minds with the
Yeah.
kindness and love towards our child and us.
Absolutely.
And then we've had people who you would think would be the people to understand who are
And they just
can be
don't.
ugly, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But yeah,
for sure.
that's a
So,
part of it.
That's a little bit in the day-to-day life. Let's get more into like his communication.
Okay.
His communication and really how we as a family have learned to work around that. I think one of the biggest things I want to talk about is that we learned his language, which changes literally every day.
Yeah, we're constantly having to learn.
But we learn his language, and what does that mean? You know, there was a kid that came up to me. He's like,
I want to stop and say this. No one knows your child and how to communicate with your child better than you do as a
Yeah,
parent.
let's
They
put that
just
out
can't.
there.
They can't know that. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I know he's about to explain this, but so many people think they know a better way to do things, and I just want you to know, like, as a parent, you are doing everything that you can
Yeah,
do. And I know that you know them. You're with them 24/7, like you're their
yeah,
person. So,
yeah, for
anyways,
sure.
just had to say that.
Um, so yeah, there was this child, right? We were at a doctor's office waiting area, and this child came up to Ezra and wanted to play, and Ezra played in his way, which is, I would say, socially not the norm.
Yeah.
Um,
He wants to play with, but it's almost like beside.
yeah, he'll play with other children, but he's not big on being social with them unless it's on a bouncy ball. If
Yeah.
there's bouncy balls,
The
it's
bouncy
over.
balls,
Uh,
or it's inappropriate. It's not appropriate place.
he'll
It's
yeah
getting
he'll
too
like get
close.
too close in their
Yeah.
face and smile. My name's Ezra, or he'll say your
Your
name's
name's Ezra.
Ezra, or and his parents be like, get out of my child's face. They don't understand.
Yeah.
So learning to speak Ezra's language. Anyway, this child, he's like, I really like Ezra. I said, that's cool. Literally just met this kid and his parents, and he said he's different though. I said, yeah, he speaks a different language. He said, what, really, he speaks a different language? I said, yeah. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, okay, how can I put this? I said, okay, Ezra is really fun to be around, but he speaks in codes.
Yeah.
And this kid was like, what? I said, if you want to be Ezra's friend, you have to know the secret code.
Yeah. You gotta learn code.
And he said, this kid looked at me and said, I want to know the secret code.
Aw,
And I was like, yeah,
that's
of
so
course you
sweet.
do. And so, yeah, they were good friends for that 5 minutes that
Yeah.
met them.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, learning to speak their language. That's what this is getting to.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to speak your child's language. Learn
Mm-hmm.
what they mean. Don't worry about what they say as much as what they mean. You can work
Yeah.
on how to make that into, I'll say, a more socially acceptable sentence.
Yeah.
Um, but really learn what they're trying to tell you. We just went to a seminar for autism, and someone at the front who was giving the seminar, she said this is so good. She said, all what was it? Pretty much everything is communication.
Yeah.
That these children are trying to
Mm-hmm.
communicate. That there is some way they're trying to communicate.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I think we got so good at learning what Ezra was saying because for so long there were no words. We only were able to get communication out of behavior or, out of certain things he did or the way he moved. We knew they had different cries. You know what I mean? There was
yeah, you
there's
could
different
tell the
pitches
difference. Yeah.
and different things. And other people may not, oh, why is he, he's flipping out about that. And it's like, oh, he just wants that down from there,
Yeah,
and
he just wants the fire truck off the top of the fridge or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah. So learning to speak their language is very
Mm-hmm.
important. Also using visuals. We have started to use visual charts like brushing your
In the
teeth.
past year and a half, and man, they
It's
made
made a big difference.
I really was like, I don't think.
Yeah, we kind of whatever, but
Yeah.
we did it, and I'm telling you, it works.
Some of y'all are like, y'all are late to the game. Y'all have a
Yeah,
nearly 7-year-old, and y'all just started using
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Like,
No, it's a big deal. It works.
yeah, it really
Um,
does help.
Also, what we'll do is we don't say, Ezra, what do you want to eat? We'll give him a short list. We'll say we know what he loves,
Mm-hmm.
and
Give them 2 options.
we'll give him 2 or 3 options.
Max.
We'll give him 2 options. We'll say, hey, this is a very healthy thing. Like we're talking health food right now. We'd say, do you want McDonald's or do you want Burger King? And he'll say, you want McDonald's? And he'll say, well, do you want McDonald's or do you want Wendy's? You want Wendy's?
Mm-hmm.
I said, and we'll say it again. Okay, do you want McDonald's or Wendy's? You want Wendy's? That's how we do it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it works.
Mhm.
It works because it helps them to break down,
What they really want.
what they really want. So that also communication barriers, therapy. You were here for every therapy that he's had.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that to you.
I feel
to
like
discuss.
therapy could be an entire episode, but I'll try to be brief for this one, and I'll probably repeat myself in the future. But oh my gosh, I was the biggest skeptic, I think, when therapy first started for Ezra. We had a program called Opportunities in our area. I don't know if that's just a Texas state thing.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. And Ezra started therapy before he was ever diagnosed. And so I was still in denial that he had autism when it started. So it was hard to hear it from them because they see it every day and they knew what they were dealing with. And I was like, ah.
Yeah.
So if you've ever gone through a phase of denial, you're not alone in that
Yeah.
either.
No, it's part of the grieving process. And we'll cover that in another episode that you literally do grieve. And I know it sounds selfish, but you grieve the child that you thought you're going to have.
But therapy
But
can
therapy,
therapy can be fun and it can also be painful. It can be painful to, have to watch your kid not maybe fully understand him, or him be upset because they're changing things that aren't comfortable for him, but he needs to be stretched, and that he needs to grow. And so when I'm saying therapy, predominantly the therapies Ezra has had are speech,
occupational.
occupational, and physical therapy.
He hasn't had any ABA.
Yeah, we've been on a wait list for a long time to try for ABA. We're open to anything. I know some people are completely against ABA, so don't come for us. But for us, it's just like,
Why wouldn't we try?
yeah, if it's something that he loves or it clicks for him and it brings more communication into his life, why would we not?
Well, and I think a lot of that comes down to, and we're not getting into this, but I'm just going to
Yeah,
leave it
the
at
rabbit
this.
hole.
A lot of it comes down to like who is a therapist, who is your child, and how do they click? Do they click, or is it just kind of a
Yeah.
rough situation? But yeah, we'll leave that at
And
that.
I will say this as well on the topic of therapy. Uh, if you've only ever been to a therapy center and it's not working for you and it's overwhelming for your child and it's just like a pain, resource out and see if there's any in-home
Oh
therapist.
yeah, that made
That
all the difference.
was such a huge game changer for Ezra because he felt safe in his own space. He could bring his own toys up into therapy or leave it, but he learned a routine in his safe space where he was more calm, and therapy was so much more effective in our home.
You didn't like it because
Uh,
we had to have the house clean and
oh,
the candles going by 9 a.m.
hey, no, it was work because
It's a lot of work.
for me, like, no one's coming in here unless it's like spotless, which is like honestly crazy when you have two children. Like, it's never spotless.
Two tornadoes.
Two tornadoes. Yeah, but I was dedicated because
You made it work.
I wanted the best for Ezra, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat because I know that prepared him for where he's at today.
Absolutely.
So
yeah. And
yeah.
so we're going to cover the last topic. We're going to burn right through this thing, but acceptance. Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest things for us on the day-to-day life is accepting him.
Yeah.
So
not that it's hard to accept him.
No. That's like one of the
Hopefully they
biggest
didn't understand
parts,
it that
one
way.
of the biggest aspects of like
Yeah.
what makes our family work is that we accept him
Yep.
where he is now, developmentally or socially or language or
just the day he's having.
Yeah, he could be having a terrible day,
Mm-hmm.
but we accept him for where he's at, hoping and believing for him to accomplish so much in his life and seeing the vision for him and seeing the things that God has really placed in our hearts to pray for him and pray over him. But accepting where he is now and knowing that it's okay.
Yep.
It's okay. Also daily not putting him in a box and not putting limitations on him. I think you can attest to this, Amanda, that like, man, these kids, if you don't put them in a box and you let them lead, you will find just so much that they're capable of so much more than you ever gave them credit for. And it's nothing against you, not saying you're a bad parent, you don't give your kid credit. No, it's just like these kids are capable of so much more.
And honestly, he's saying that sometimes we need to hear that because I know we are level 10 helicopter parents.
Oh yeah. If you know us and you know the school that if you are on staff at the school that Ezra goes to,
sorry if you're on
Amanda's gonna apologize, and I will too.
Yeah,
I'm bad
because we're so invested in Ezra being the most successful version of himself.
So we don't allow him to be put in a box.
Yeah.
We push the envelope
Mm-hmm.
every time. And we're big in this on the day to day, and that is exposure therapy. I know that's probably not an official term, but exposing him to things,
Mm-hmm.
exposing him to environments,
Yep.
maybe taking him to the park when our inner self is just like, I don't know, it's kind of a rough day, but
Yeah.
no, take him,
If it's a
you know?
meltdown, it's a meltdown. It'll end at some point. Like,
Right.
and I know that's easier said than done. And there's some days where your tank is on E and you can't do it. And I
Yep.
fully get that. But just know that just holding up and their meltdown's going to happen at home too. You know, you can't keep them 100% satisfied and just in their little space. It's worth it to get out. And yeah,
Yeah,
you might
absolutely.
meet somebody too.
Yeah, you might meet people. We have met people we've
Mm-hmm.
become close with. There's some friends we met down in Panama City at Golf World of all
Yeah.
places
Yep.
that we love. They're
Mm-hmm.
amazing people. And so yeah, and the last thing we want to talk about as far as acceptance is knowing this, that he is not and will not ever be like other children
Yeah.
around him. But that is the best thing about him.
Yeah.
That is the best thing about autism, is that they aren't like others. I think I can't remember if we said it in this episode or the last, but the greatest minds on planet Earth. Okay, I'm just going to name a few names. A few of them you might know. In fact, you'll probably know all of them. Steve Jobs. All right. Elon Musk mentioned it as well. Albert Einstein. Who else? Thomas Jefferson. Um, there's a huge list of people. If you just go and look it up, type in
Mm-hmm.
celebrities who have autism or people who have autism that are well known, you will find the greatest
Mm-hmm.
minds and the probably the top 10 people on Forbes list. Most of them have autism.
Yeah.
So understand this, that your kid may not be like other children. That's not a bad thing.
Right. And at the same time, it doesn't mean their child's a savant or a brainiac or anything
Right,
either.
right, right.
There's very real in real life, there's children who, they're 4 grade levels behind and they're just struggling and it's a part of it. But, foster the things that they love. I would say that. Invest in the things that they love. Talked about earlier Ezra's fine motor delay, and he's now just becoming a little artist. Whatever it is that they're finding interest in, and now if they're on the spectrum, they've got a special interest. Like for the
They're
most part,
interested in something.
that's something I've never known a child with autism that does not have fixations and special interests. I just haven't, but maybe they're out there. But foster and commit yourself to those things, whatever it may be. And it may only be for a season, but let them explore that to its full potential, because they may be 3 grade levels behind, but they may be, they may slay a piano. Like, who knows?
Yep.
Whatever it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what we talked about today is what life looks like for us as a family. We talked about communication. We talked about a couple of tips. We threw some tips out there for you guys just to chew on and see if it's something that maybe you could pick up. And we talked about acceptance. We talked about accepting our children for who they are, because God genuinely made them
Yeah.
with great fear. And it's crazy to think that the verse, it says, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Like, who is the God of the universe that he created all these things that are around us? He created the breath we're breathing and who we are. Who is he that he would fear anything?
Hmm.
But he took great fear in making you.
Yeah.
And he took great fear in making your child, who may or may not have autism.
Yep.
I think it's important for us to strip the labels here and just understand that God made them who they are. Period.
Yeah.
So I just want to leave y'all with that little snippet there.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, you might have some tips for us.
For real.
Please.
We just up here rambling,
you might have
trying
some
to figure
tips
this
for
out.
us. If you do, or if you just want to reach out to us, talk to us, reach out to us at notanislandpodcast@gmail.com. That is the title of our podcast at gmail.com.
Yep.
Also, please, 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 please share this with your friends. Share this episode, share
Yeah.
this podcast with your friends. You're trying to get the word out and really share the message of hope and acceptance
Yeah.
for families who are affected by autism, and families who are just trying to figure this thing out. So,
And today was much more practical, but I think,
yeah.
it's always helpful to hear those
Yeah,
kind of
it was a
things.
very practical episode.
Hmm.
But yeah, uh, make sure you share this. Make sure you put it on your social media, whatever.
Yeah.
Also, make sure you rate, review, subscribe, follow, whatever you do on your podcast app. Please, 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 just do that.
Just
Yeah,
do it.
yeah, just do
Just
it.
do it.
Follow us, subscribe on anywhere you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. That's what I was trying to think of how to say.
Yeah.
Just yeah, wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to leave a review, subscribe, rate, review us, all that.
You want to pray?
Yeah, I'll pray.
Okay.
Father God, we just thank you for these families who are listening, and we thank you for the lives that they are fostering and stewarding. And Lord, we just ask you to give them the strength and the peace and the understanding, and Lord, the patience just to ride this thing out. Lord, we just ask for you to reveal yourself through these families, reveal yourself in their day-to-day lives. Just remind them that you are with them and that you're not leaving them. And Lord, just uh, show them and remind them also just the visions and the dreams you have over them and their children. Lord, that you don't ever just say something. You don't just say things to say them. But Lord, you have a purpose in that. And so we thank you once again for all of these families, and we thank you for the honor and the blessing to be able to reach them. And Lord, it's just in your son's precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
All right. We are Todd and
Amanda.
DJ Mandy Johnson. And thanks for listening. And
Thanks.
we'll see you on the next one.
DJ Mandy out.